Good morning, everybody. Stephen Meadows, my name. I'm from the Australian Federal Police and I'm the commander of the Joint Organised Crime Group. I'm here to announce a Joint Organised Crime Group operation that has resulted in the seizure of 200 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine, or ICE, as more commonly known, imported by sea cargo from Malaysia, and also the arrest of 3 men. All 3 men are foreign nationals and were scheduled to face Sydney Central Local Court this morning after being charged with offences relating to importation of a commercial quantity of ICE. If convicted, these offences carry a sentence of life imprisonment. We will continue to see drug seizures in the hundreds of kilograms as our partnerships in Australia and overseas strengthen. The demand for drugs in this country is insatiable. We are all getting very good at seizing drugs, but it won't make a difference in the long term as long as there is a current level of demand for them as we are seeing. Addressing this demand is a problem that can only be solved with the involvement of the Australian community. We can make arrests and seizures every day of the week, but it won't substantially change anything unless the community makes it a priority to address this demand. My Border Force colleague will be able to tell you more about the concealment inside 2 metal lathes, but I need to thank the AFP forensic specialists who worked quickly to deconstruct this concealment, as well as our Joint Organised Crime Group investigators who undertook the controlled operation. The lathes were delivered to a warehouse in Kingsgrove on Monday. Yesterday, we were alleged 3 men took apart the base of both lathes, which was quite an elaborate process, and extracted the packages containing the drugs. They were checked, weighed and put into suitcases. All 3 men were arrested and they left the warehouse at several times, with search warrants executed in 4 locations in Kingsgrove, Riverwood and Strathfield. To finance, acquire, transport and distribute 200 kilograms of ICE, you need the involvement of organised crime. We are still investigating the links that our people in custody have, so this operation is definitely not over. We have disrupted the activities of what we believe is a well-resourced organised crime syndicate. We will continue our inquiries with our overseas partners through the AFP International Network to identify the suppliers and finances of this shipment and bring them to account. I'll now hand over to Detective Acting Superintendent Bowfields.
I'm going to open up to questions. If anyone's got any questions about the investigation that's just been carried out, I'll be happy to take it.
How does this seizure compare to previous seizures? Is it a record? Is this a very large one for police?
Well, I think over the last couple of years we've seen some large seizures up to a tonne, in excess of a tonne. So 200 kilos is a lot of drugs. When you calculate how many street deals that would be, it is substantial.
What was the estimated street value of the drugs?
At this stage, they've estimated in excess of $100 million.
How long were police monitoring the actions or aware of this before they carry out this operation?
We're continually working with Border Force on these types of investigations. Certainly Border Force brought it to the attention of the AFP and us. So, that might be a question that Border Force can answer.
What does it say about the thirst for ICE in this country, if it's worth the while of an overseas syndicate to arrange this shipment, send it here, possibly send people here to take delivery of it? Is this a very lucrative market?
It certainly is. There's a lot of profit in varying types of drugs, whether it's amphetamine or cocaine or any other type of drug. A lot cheaper offshore, and there is a lot of profit in it. A lot of the profit may remain onshore, but certainly there's substantial amounts of money going back offshore.
What sorts of, do you have any ideas on what sorts of profit margins these syndicates are taking in these sort of deals?
I'm not really in a position to be able to answer that, but it is profit. They're not going to import substantial amounts of drugs, spend a lot of money bringing it in here and lose money. They're making a lot of money out of it.
What was the reaction of the 3 men that they were arrested? Were they surprised? Did they think they managed to get it in unnoticed?
They certainly did. They didn't anticipate or expect to be arrested. Their methodology was certainly covert, and they thought they'd got away with the importation.
Is there any indication of where it came from?
Again, you might have to ask Superintendent to know that question.
Can you speak a little bit about the method that they used to bring it in? How sophisticated was that?
I'll hand over that question to the Board of Force. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name's Danielle Yiannopoulos. I'm the ABF Regional Commander for New South Wales. Look, this is not only a win for law enforcement, this is a win for the Australian community. The Australian Border Force continues to protect the Australian community by disrupting any attempts to bring these lethal drugs into Australia and across our borders. The ABF targeted this container that arrived in Sydney on the 21st of April, coming from Malaysia. Our ABF officers used our sophisticated X-ray facility and examined the contents upon its arrival at our Sydney Container Examination Facility. The concealment was highly sophisticated. In this case, the crystal methamphetamine was concealed in metal lathes. No matter how big or small, whether it comes in metal lathes, we've seen meth come in gates, mining equipment, household appliances, or even just protein powder. We in the ABF had the ability to find it. This is what we're trained for, and this is why we're getting the results that we've seen today. So together with our law enforcement partners, the ABF will continue to dismantle the criminal syndicates who destroy the lives of our community with these drugs. As I said, we know that ice kills people and it ruins lives, and by stopping these drugs and smashing these syndicates, we've prevented significant harm to our community. Every hit of ice that we take off the streets is potentially one life saved. And when you put that into the context of 200 kilos of meth standing here before you, that's more than 2 million hits of ice. Thank you.
Was there a tip-off that led to this, or did the shipment look suspicious? What led to it being checked?
Look, at the end of the day, the ABF and our law enforcement partners are not going to give away our full set of methodologies, because obviously that shoots up our criminal syndicates. But I think it would be fair to say that we don't randomly select containers. We use intelligence and a whole range of methodologies to look for something that in this particular one was targeted.
Is it fair to say, though, Danielle, that there wasn't necessarily specific intelligence on this exact container? Was it more about it fitting into perhaps a risk category, or was there specific intel on this exact?
Look, as I said, I'm not going to be able to share the specific methodology for this particular one, but with all of our drug finds, we use a whole range of those things, whether it's intelligence, targeted technology, working with our law enforcement partners.
Can you speak about how complex the packaging process was? It was concealed twice.
Yes, so it was heavily concealed inside the metal lathes, which obviously is quite difficult to get into. So to be able to run it through X-rays, identify where those anomalies are, and then deconstruct it together with our law enforcement partners is quite complex, yes.
Did you have to cut the metal to get it out, or was it just about pulling apart pieces of it?
At times we have to cut metal, other times it's pulling things apart. So
But on this specific
it was a sophisticated concealment that required us to complex to get into. Yes.
I guess what I'm asking is whether this one you had to cut the metal to get the drugs out.
Yeah, it was built into the metal.
It was,
yes.
Could I ask, I'm not sure who to direct this question to, and apologies if you've already answered this, but what was the estimated street value of the 200 kilograms?
Look, the value was approximately over $150 million, around $170 million. Of course, this is an estimate, but the street value.
Any more questions?
Do you believe that the three men you've arrested were involved in the importation of this syndicate right from the top, or do you think these are just gophers that have been sent here to pick it up?
Out of the three men, we think one is relatively high up in the syndicate, but this operation's continuing, not only here in Australia but also overseas.
So what do you do today? You're in touch with, your regional officers overseas, or are you using foreign law enforcement? And what is the aim there to try and trace it back as high as you can go?
Well, as you'll be aware, the AFP has an international network overseas, and we work very closely with them and with their partners in their home country in regard to continue these investigations. I cannot rule out that there won't be further arrests in regard to this investigation.
And the three men were all foreign nationals. Was it thought that they were here just to deliver the drugs, unpack and disseminate, and then leave Australia again?
That's correct. We believe they came here for the specific purpose of this importation.
When did they arrive in Australia? Was it before or after?
I don't want to go into direct all the information in regards to this investigation because it is still continuing. But what I can say, and as I just mentioned previously, we believe they were here for this investigation.
The shipment came from Malaysia, but is that believed to be the original source of these drugs?
No, I mean the container did come from Malaysia, that's correct. The source could have been from a number of different countries in Asia, and that's part of the investigation that's continuing.
You touched on this in your opening remarks, but I wonder if you could just speak to the appetite for overseas syndicates to come with specifically ice here. Is there a real hunger for ice in this country? Is that why they're looking to us to make profit?
Ice is a massive demand for ice in this country. And there's been a lot of reports of the effect of that on communities, of our rural communities. And the reason that is there's high profit margins to be made. And so these organised crime groups target Australia, and it's a big problem. We are making a lot of seizures. As mentioned previously, there's been 1 ton seizures of ice in the recent past, but the demand is still there. It's still the station. It's really a problem for the whole community that I believe has to be addressed.
What message would you give to people who deal in ice and other drugs, organised crime syndicates, or people who deal on the street? What message would you tell them?
I think there's a mistaken perception out there that taking drugs is safe, which is absolutely ridiculous. The substances that go into these drugs are unknown. They're a mixture of different drugs. You can go to YouTube and see how these drugs are refined, and you will be shocked at what gets put into these drugs. They're extremely dangerous. I know there's been some media reporting this morning that Australia is one of the top countries that seek medical assistance after taking these narcotics. And I think that just goes to show the danger of taking these sort of substances.
You seem to be indicating that a seizure, despite its large size, this sort of nature, is actually, so it's not the biggest you've had, it's only a small fraction of what's probably making it into Australia. How many, 2 million hits? Is that a week's supply? Is that a couple of days' supply for Australia? How much are we going through?
I'm not sure if I have the information to answer that, but 2 million is still a lot of hits. To organise 200 kilograms of importation into Australia and then distribute it on the street takes a lot of sophistication, and we allege a very sophisticated organised crime group is behind this.
Do you think they had a buyer yet? And if so, do you know where this was likely to end up?
Well, like I said, the investigation is still continuing. That's part of the investigation.
Right, ready, guys?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.